13th Town Council, Washington. Patrick and Brad are not here, as it appears, they're not here, not here. But we do have a quorum. Let me welcome over in the corner here, Stephen Harvey. Stephen works with Tom Garrett as an outreach director. So Stephen is reaching out tonight, and we're delighted to have you here. As I understand, he's touring most of the towns around, going to town councils and board supervisors and
I'll absolutely do the library tomorrow. If anybody has constituent concerns they want to send up to Congressman Garrett.
There's some little ones.
Anything we need to talk about, or you
No,
just provide
just
that?
the very end where it says closed session, and it says there was closed session, there should be no. All right, I just want to thanks. So I'm just going to.
A motion to approve? I'll second. All in favor?
Thank you.
Treasurer's report, Mr. Goble.
Thank you. Consolidated assets of the town of Washington as of 10/31/2017 were $475,329.51. During that same period, the Washington Water Works consolidated assets were $22,302.73, and the wastewater was $1,463.32. During the month of October, we pumped 1,095,600 gallons. We backwashed 32,400, leaving us 1,063,200 billable gallons. And we billed 545,846 gallons. We also sold 20,000 gallons unmetered, leaving us with a treated, not yet billed, 497,354 gallons. The income, town income, October 2017 was $31,288.16. The Washington Water Works income during October was $7,942.82, and the wastewater income was $14,615.37. Attached are the bills to be paid and the additional bills. Pretty light this month. I don't think anything unusual there at all. The generator for the wastewater and the waterworks that came out and did his checkup on the generators there. That's the only unusual thing. They were it's a contract, yeah. And that is everything I have this month.
Any questions? Well, we approve the treasurer's report. How about a second? All in favor? Aye. Planning Commission. Our Planning Commission representative on the council is not here. Fred, you guys have anything you want?
No, sir. We're waiting for any, we submitted the letter coming in October, and we look forward to whatever actions, whatever support we can provide to you, either as citizens in the community or as the planning commission to help carry out those action steps.
You will be taking up on all those several offers. ARB, I usually report that they had a meeting last week, approved a couple things, not a great consequence. Before the town attorney, let me do what I like to do occasionally, some things I think people should know, if they don't already. Middle Street Gallery, which was located on Middle Street, a consortium of, I don't know, 30 artists or so, in the building next to Patrick. They were there for I don't know how many years. Long time. And they left, I'm guessing 4 or 5 years ago, due to landlord issues, rent, what have you. They've been in Sperryville in a couple spots since then. They're moving back to that building. They'll be located in the back part of it, not in the front where it used to be. And they officially show up December 8th, I think it is. They're going to have an open house, welcoming reception, etc. on Sunday, December 9th from 3 to 5. Pardon? Saturday, excuse me, you're right, Saturday. It opens Friday the 8th. But I think it's great to have them back in town. And they're very active, some good art, and for people in town, what have you. I don't know whether they kept the old Middle Street Gallery stationary, but they're back on Middle Street.
What, do you know what time?
The party?
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 to 5.
3 to 5?
3 to 5 on Saturday, December 9th.
And the next day is, it's the next day off,
Just about to go to that. Yes, the next day, Sunday, December 10th, is our annual Christmas/holiday parade, which is starting, there's been some shifts over the last year or two, but we'll be starting at 1 p.m. Right? At 1 p.m. on that Sunday. Judy DeSarno is leading the whole effort. And then there's a group of about 10 or so people who are working hard and contributing to it.
And the artisan market opens at 11, will close at 3:30.
And the inn will have a market, and we'll have the
It's all part
usual
of it.
artisans, it's all together. It should
And
be,
we've expanded the artisan.
and, you know, it's the little things that you kind of highlight. As everybody knows, the Army Fife and Drum Corps have been coming here for, I think, 6 or 7 years. And the head of it, his name I now forget, last year told me this was their favorite parade. Everybody volunteers for it. I mean, it's hard to believe. He said it as if he meant it. And last year there were 12 of them in the parade, and this year there are 22. Some number like that. And so that's always cool. It's so nice that they go to a lot of places and they seem to like coming here. The following Sunday, December 17th, is our Christmas party. Starts at 5:30 as usual, 5:30. People are welcome to bring food and what have you. Laura's coordinating things. So that's the end of public announcements, I guess. John, do you have anything?
Nothing.
All right, we're now going to open the public hearing. The consideration of changing the town election date from May to November to concur with statewide elections as per the request of the county register of voters. Has been mentioned a number of times, not new news, but this is a public hearing where any of you can express opinions of any sort on that particular topic.
You know where I stand, but
As long as you haven't switched positions.
I think, yeah, no, I have not switched positions, but we keep saying statewide, there's a federal election, and it was just to coincide with the November election. I don't know if the wording matters. And I will say this, for the Clinton-Trump election, we had an 80% turnout in Hampton, which we were part of. This year, we had a 63% turnout. And, you know, if we ever looked at the turnout for the office of mayor, it's been tiny. And the other thing that will happen is we'll be eligible for absentee voting, which is how you do basically early voting in Virginia. So it also helps in my way. So I hope you will approve it. Plus it saves money.
Yeah, saves lots of money. It's a win-win.
Yeah, it's funny, I haven't heard anyone actually get, anyway, any other comments about If none, I will close the public hearing. And we should vote on it, shouldn't we, John? Any reason? Roll call vote. Roll call vote. We've got a
Do we need a
quorum.
motion?
Yeah, we've got to make a motion.
Okay, I'll make the motion to change the town election date from May to November to concur with statewide elections.
I would
Just say, let it know.
November election.
November, okay, November elections.
And if I may, it would be to adopt an ordinance or adopt the ordinance to change the date from.
Okay, so I make a motion to adopt an ordinance to change the town election date from May to November to concur with November elections.
I'll second.
All right. Roll call vote. Kathy, we'll start with you.
Yes.
What happens if I say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Make it on the line.
We're all in next month.
Grass effort to keep the power. Okay, well, thank you all. Old business update ordinance, on the B&B subject. I don't know whether we really have anything to do at the moment on that. Hmm? Let me just see whether, John, I think we're going to table the discussion on the B&B. Is that okay with you, or do you have something?
I keep thinking about it, things I have to track and all sorts of things about this. Safety bills, it's on the
Next subject is a post office update. As everybody knows, the post office has decided to move. They want more space. They want 2,500 square feet. They currently have, I think it's 1,800. They have expressed a desire to stay in the town, which then works its way down to a desire to stay near the town, which then works its way to we absolutely will be in the zip code of Washington. And I think they do honestly have a preference to stay in town for all the reasons we would like them to. I have included for all of you some exchange between Rick Hancock, who is the realtor for the post office at Greensboro, North Carolina. He's the guy that we've been dealing with off and on over the last 2 or 3 years. It's modestly interesting, and maybe you already know this, but we all know the post office no longer really handles first-class mail for obvious reasons. But because of Amazon and relationship with UPS and FedEx and post office, and they're all working together, they now become into the moving box business. And that's where they had a big increase in volume. Boxes are larger than letters. And they get a lot more trucks coming in there. Speaking for myself, but I assume most people in the county would very, very much like them to stay in the town. There are several possible potential locations for them. Not a lot to discover. And there have been some conversations going back and forth, and it's really up to the people who might be interested to say they're going to be interested as opposed to me talking about it. But having said that, I would welcome anybody's ideas as to buildings in the town that might be appropriate. I mean, we all walk up and down the streets, and none of us has looked at every building. Well, it's not as if it's a wide variety of them. They do not want to buy a building. They do not want to build a building. They want to lease an already existing building or lease a new building. So that really means that from a town standpoint, we find somebody in the town who owns a building that would be interested in having them as a tenant, and it's feasible. It is theoretically, the town owns some properties post office on it, and talking about options out there. The Rick Hancock is coming up here sometime after Thanksgiving, date unclear, where he will meet with potential owners or whomever for renting space. At one time he told me there might be some kind of public forum discussion. I'm not sure what forum that would take. That's essentially what I know. Personally, would not like to see them leave town. Do whatever we can.
Have you thought about the Washington Schoolhouse?
The what?
The Washington Schoolhouse?
Yes.
There's space.
That's sort of an awkward subject, as everyone could understand. But if one simply looks at buildings in this town that have size, parking, and location, the Washington School, which I am a part owner of, is a potential location. There would be zoning issues and what have you. But there are some other places. And if anyone simply has, an idea of potential buildings, we try to think we thought most of them. If someone says, well, how about this space or that space? Welcome.
The property that Abdo owns as you go out of town, is there a building up there?
Well, that's impossible. In terms of space, it's possible. Abdo owns it. I've not talked with him about it.
But it's not really in the heart of town,
It
at
is,
least it's.
well, it's not only not, we don't need to talk out of it.
Right.
Seems to be no challenge. It's not legally in the town of Washington. There's been talks about expanding the border.
That's what we get.
I think the real issue would be there are turns there's a hill that I think VDOT would veto that pretty quickly, just for safety reasons. But I don't know, anything's,
And is the health department moving?
yes. Let me rephrase that. The health department wants to move. They've been wanting to move for 4 or 5 years now, but they want to move, and from what I've heard, they are now actually talking and going to visit with some of the people who are looking to have them rent space from them. So it looks like they're going to start moving. So if they were to move, that's a potential building. I mean, let me just go through some buildings without at any point saying that A, I have a preference, or B, it'd be necessarily, zoning, does the owner want to do it or not do it? I mean, there's just, if you just go building by building. There's the VDOT space, there's the Washington Health Department is Skippy's. If you go down Main Street, I'm not sure what there really is. Abdo's Rap News Building, sort of. If you go on Gay Street, Jerry Martin has space, Kramer Building, Washington School. Some people suggested the jail, the now empty jail.
The old bank building?
Well, the old bank building might be ideal, but I'm not talked to, I should, but they have just leased that space to Mike Brown.
All of it?
Most of the downstairs, not upstairs, but most of the downstairs. So I think that's kind of, which is why Mike Brown's space on Main Street is now up for rent. There may be some other, but I think those are kind of the options. Alan?
Lightning may strike me for saying this. Lightning may strike me for saying this, but the town owns that very old and decrepit house on the Main Street coming into town.
Yeah.
And some property, if that's enough property, it might be worth exploring with the ARB whether or not that building could be demolished. In my sort of look at that building and a couple of others, the costs of renovation for buildings in that poor a condition is now becoming so high, mostly because of the cost of acquisition, that it's just not feasible. And it may prove useful to the town if there's enough acreage there, and if there's a builder willing to build, to use that lot. second alternative, because I know the county is equally pressed about office space, is the county owns 4 acres behind the Gay Street office sectors. And properly developed, that could really become part of the sort of downtown of Little Washington. Not a back alley space, but a real commercial office space. So either one of those alternatives might be possible, just as a suggestion to explore.
I think those are alternatives that are out there. I will just say one thing, I'll be getting each one of these things. A personal view of my own. Although the county owns that 4 acres, and they bought it with the notion that they might want to expand onto it, they have every right to do so. I always hope that wouldn't really happen. And I think that you're more the expert than I, but there's a lot of space. I mean, it's sort of a game of chess, real estate being played. I kind of hope that's not the outcome. It's not something we can really control, though, and express an opinion. And others might think it's a great space. Any other question? Yes.
John, can you tell us what the process will be for selection? I mean, you have zoning requirements here, commercial, residential.
Yeah.
Presumably there'll be a process that people with conflicts of interest, how will they be addressed? How will you go from identifying a potential range of properties to making a decision?
Well, there's several questions here. I'll answer the best I can. I'm not fully clear on what the process is going to be because Rick Hancock, postal guy, has been not as forthcoming on that subject yet. The way things stand now, if someone is interested as a proposed building, they should contact Hancock directly, whose name and address and number are on the paper of administration. And I think he's going to be dealing with those individual entities. But what's the process? How long? You know, I don't really know. He doesn't actually seem to be in that much of a hurry. And they do want a solution that's a 10 or more year kind of solution. Or put differently, as said to me, and we all understand these things, he doesn't ever want to have to deal with this problem in this town again. Depends on how long he thinks he can be with the job. In terms of, and I don't see myself as being able to do anything but encourage, which I am, some building owners to consider it and to talk to Hancock. At some point, I don't know what it is, I think the town will have an opportunity to weigh in and say, we really, really hope you stay here.
Right.
Assuming the town fits
But
in.
who actually approves where it's going to go?
Well, only in the sense, and correct me, John, if I'm wrong, if it's a building is in a commercial area, it seems to me there's nothing to talk about, is there?
Even with the trucks that you talked about and the traffic implications?
Well, I don't know, that's something for the
That is
John.
a really question that depends on all the details. The answer to a question like that is site specific. And it's complex enough, at least in my mind, that you really can't get into all the this and that and everything until you're talking about a particular site. But the post office makes a decision where they want to go. That's not the town's decision. And at that point, if it's zoned and it's by right use, you just have to submit a development plan that sets forth traffic, parking, all the things that are required by the zoning office, and that's approved or rejected administratively by the zoning administrator. It doesn't come before council, but it's a rigorous process. And we look at something like this, I think I would bring it back to council in a meeting to have input from everybody so to make sure that nothing was missed or overlooked before approving or rejecting it. If it's not by right, then it's a zoning case or a special use permit case, and that would go through that normal process where you advertise a public hearing and everybody would have their say, and council would make a decision. And then they would have to still submit this development plan, although a lot of applicants would submit that concurrently with the rezoning application. So it would all be before council at the same time, and before the zoning administrator at the same time, so there's nothing disjointed. You get the zoning, and you find out you can't get the development plan approved.
John, let me ask you a question. I never thought about this. Let us say, hypothetically, someone owns a building, it's in a commercial space, commercial district. The post office prepared to do a deal with them. And if, in the wisdom, quote unquote, of the town council, reflecting the views of people in the town, think it's a bad idea, would we not have the chance to say to the postal department that this can happen, but we as a town don't really want it to happen? Is that legal, illegal?
No, it's
I don't know the specific case, I'm just talking through.
Many years ago, I guess it's been 20 years or more, in Culpeper, town of Culpeper had the same situation. And in that situation, the Postal Service just announced they had a new site outside of town, which caused just an uproar. There'd been no public input, no discussion or anything. At which point the town council and the board of supervisors adopted resolutions saying they wanted it to remain in town someplace. And there was a decision at that point that was already made. They entered into a contract that was contingent on governmental funding and other things. So there wasn't out for the Postal Service. But French Slaughter, who was the representative in Congress at the time, negotiated with someone with the Postal Service, and they withdrew that site and found the Leggett building in town, which they remodeled to the present site. So the town can have a lot of input in this process by suggesting sites and showing things that are feasible and can be done and that will work out. And the Postal Service will pay attention to political winds.
Let me adjust one other thing you said. I heard the word conflict of interest. The 3 words. If the Washington store were somehow to be interested, which I would talk to Mr. Bennett and Art Goff to make sure that I should excuse myself. I mean, it's not my choice, right? It's up to the post office. But if there's any issue with regard to my involvement with that property in the post office, I would talk to both John and Art Goff, the Commonwealth Attorney, and do whatever they say.
One more question or comment, I guess, if I may. One is that because the town owns the property with the old house on it, the town itself could be the advocate for that site, just as any other private sector owner would be an advocate for their site. And if there's enough acreage there, I would certainly encourage the council to consider doing something to sort of advocate for that site, if it makes sense. The alternative is, if the post office decides, well, we want major highway access and whatever else, they'll build out somewhere next to the bank or the co-op, and we, the town, will have virtually nothing to say about that. And we'll lose a major source of traffic for downtown. So trying to find a place somewhere in the town would be greatly in the town's interest, and the town has a lot, which I don't know if it's big enough or not, but if it is, it might behoove council to advocate for that site.
The only thing I will add is in an informal conversation with the postmaster, I found out that they, even though they do not have it now, the plans must incorporate having semis, so tractor trailers. So that needs to be part of the town council.
And who's that?
The postmaster?
Here or
Yeah.
Here meaning Tina?
Yeah. That although they do not anticipate at this point, that there being tractor trailers coming in, that when they do finalize a site, that it needs to be something that is accessible to tractor trailers. Because we don't think about that.
No, well, I do, I mean, I don't mean, but I thought about it a lot. I think the issue of trucks is terribly important, that's where it's all going. You got a lot of trucks going in there. I would only point out there's some pretty damn big trucks that come into this town, distribute food and what have you, so I agree with you, it's relevant, and, you know, where can they park, and what's the access, and how do you come from here to there, and, you know, our criteria or whatever, that I think will weigh very heavily with the post department. Well, let me just ask you, I mean, you know, what do people think about that location being the one the town owns on Leggett Lane and Warren Avenue?
I like the,
Which may or may not be appropriate for trucks, but skip that issue for a second. Let's assume it could be there.
well, I much prefer the Abdo site. I realize we don't have any control over that, but because of the issue of trucks, I mean, and of course, as you know, we have recommended extending the borders of the town. We don't know if we'll do it, but we have recommended that. And I don't know how much it would cost to build an aesthetically pleasing architectural review board approved building on the town's site.
Nancy?
What about the timeline for that? If the town were to build something, could all that process take place within the time that the post office
Well,
finds acceptable?
I don't know the answer to the question, though I'm rather skeptical, but I don't know the answer, so. And to be clear, the town would not, as far as I'm aware, would not actually build or develop anything. It would be to give someone who does want to build, does want to develop, does want to lease it to the post office. You see, it's not the town, unless I'm missing something, it's not the town that's going to
Got it.
build a building and rent the post office for 10 years. It's got to be someone who comes along and says, I would like to put up a building at space X that the county owns, the town owns, or the county, I guess. So it requires someone wanting to do it. I guess I'd only make the observation that if I were the post office, which I'm not, and I saw a solution that met my needs, and I could be somewhere in 6 months, give or take, versus a solution that requires building permits and putting up a building and doing all that stuff. And if it's not in a properly zoned area, that's another whole dimension. That sounds to me like a long process. So I would think they lean towards, what's the easiest solution that works? There are alternatives out in 211, and there are people out there that reached out to the post office, and there's some good alternatives, except for the fact that it's the end of this zip code district, geographically. So that's just, I'm giving my opinion on it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is the Spiritville post office going through the same thing?
I don't know, I've been meaning to ask, I don't know. I did ask, somewhat related, I did ask Mr. Hancock, is there a solution, because of all those boxes, trucks, there's a brand new post office, roughly brand new in Amosville, got lots of space, and there's some kind of scenario where they could, the trucks come and drop off the boxes to the whole county there, because to your point, everybody else has this tiny little mail, post office, so everybody's got the same problem. So there's a way logistically they can do that, and he immediately poo-pooed it, saying that would mean I don't have to drive another 20 minutes, and they measure things, and every 20 minutes costs money, and he didn't. Now that doesn't say to me they wouldn't do it, but I thought it was a fairly clever idea that was going on pretty quickly. But I don't know how they're going to, Sperryville, I don't know what the deal is, who owns the building, how long the lease is. I mean, part of this is prompted by leases being up. If Perryville post office there has a lease for the next 8 years or something. I suspect they do nothing.
So I was,
But I don't know.
yeah, I was talking to somebody involved in this who said that, there are such things as village post offices where you keep the little post office in your village or town, and you can buy stamps and get your mail and everything, and then for the big boxes and everything, that could go out like on the highway or someplace. But you still retain that community sense.
Well, I wonder if that might, I wonder if that can't be a solution. Who knows, we might even be going to our congressman and seeing if he could be helpful. We're here to hear a good time. So I've heard from Mr. Hancock in the past that, as he says, I've been through this movie before, and I know how people use political pressure and how to deal with it.
Just, John, if I could just reverse what Mary Ann just said, I think Griggs Mountain has that exact situation.
Griggs Mountain?
Griggs Mountain.
Oh,
I think I drove by it a couple weeks ago.
Oh, really? In Syria?
We should go see it.
I'll go to the Quakers.
On the backside.
Thanks. That calls for dry mountain adventure. And lunch.
Any other?
We could help you change the name of the post office, but I don't know about getting federal funding for something like that.
Well, I just, maybe being a little flippant.
I know.
when said that.
I know, but we can change the name though. Keep that in mind.
You can change the name?
That is,
But we'd like the name Washington.
just maybe change it to Mary.
The Robert E. Lee post office.
I don't know if he wants to sign on to that.
Maybe we should make it one more. All right, enough of that conversation, let's move on. Anyway, I'm doing everything I can to try and I think some of us will be working together, I hope. ESS. We're going to table, there's a number of things that have been talked about before, myself, ESS, Brad, electrical label, remind people, although our plant is only, whatever, it is, 7 or 8 years old, there have been OSHA, I'm not sounding like Donald Trump here, there have been OSHA regulations that have passed since then, as I understand it, which require upgrades for safety reasons at the plant, which were not required at the time the plant was built. So we're working through that with ESS, and Brad's been very helpful. Electrical labeling and safety upgrades, we still don't have bids on that, so we're just telling you about it when it's going to happen. I mean, at the moment. We don't have to go there. Flow meter replacement, that's different. Laura, do you want to update people on that?
Town received 2, we have a flow meter down there that kind of looks like a sesame graph. It's really kind of cool if you haven't seen it. And it measures the discharge into the street, and it's not working properly, and you have to replace it. So we got 2 bids, and one was 7,000 something, and the second one, which ESS likes better, is $3,870, and I'm asking the council to approve that tonight.
Given that it's cheaper and that's what our professionals want to use,
And we have to have one.
then we have to have one, it seems like. Do I have any questions or a motion to approve?
The other bids haven't come in.
The ones on the way, the electrical stuff and upgrades for the handrails and things, no, they haven't come in.
Brad has been very helpful working with ESS and their various safety people. And all of a sudden, there's a meeting down there of 6 people. When you get all those involved. Brad has been very helpful in terms of coming up with solutions to doing various aspects of this stuff that are less expensive than what might be done. And so many requirements.
The one that's not working cannot be fixed.
Well, these are two different issues here.
He's,
Flow
yeah,
management.
he's seen them, he has not responded to them. What would be the alternative if we don't approve it? There's only so many people that make them, and there's so many ways of installing them, and actually, Aqua Chemical is going to be part of the installation for free, which is, you know, on the second one, so that is a plus for us, so, I don't, I mean, only an option would be to say that the council wants to go and try and get a cheaper option. I don't think we're gonna find it.
So do you have like the bid, the quote, the thing like you have for this?
I have an email that says there's two options and they, okay, I'll read it to you. Option one, this would be the mag meter provided by the original vendor of the flow meter. Meter obsolete, so new meter would have different dimensions and require plumbing changes in the vault, additional labor to not only install meter but change plumbing. Would require a confined space entry, etc., which would add more cost. So that estimate is $7,570. Option two.
Who submitted that, Laura?
It would be $7,570.
But who submitted it? Is that from?
This would be. It's Clearwater Incorporated.
And where are they?
They are in North Carolina. And that also, that 7,000 is broken down. 4,040 for the meter, 1,000 to cover plumbing changes, and yes, as installed plumbing changes, 2,000 for the employees, 700. Combined space equipment, 250, so that comes to 7,570. Option two, this would be to go with the item ITFM meter, which would bolt over the outside of existing pipe, would be much easier and quicker, and involve no piping changes. Would require a confined space entry to access the pit. Estimated fee would be $2,580 for the meter, no changing in piper, labor for 2 employees, comes to $3,000 something.
So it's the same company?
No, it's a different.
That's a different
It's
one?
a different
This
use.
is Country Water Systems.
It's ESS got both of these quotes,
Oh, okay.
but ESS would,
Or is that one from Country Water Systems?
no, it's from ESS.
Directly from ESS.
Not the meter, but they would. He said, okay, here we go. It would be obvious to me that option two would be the right choice here, as that cost is everything installed, would be less than the cost of the meter in option one. I'm also very familiar with option two meter, and it's a good sound meter. We use it in other WW applications. I have not used option one meter before. So that's what we have.
Or do you have any idea how they exposed it to the market with these bids?
We've never asked them that when they've given us proposals. I mean, they run a lot of plants and they have their contacts. If you would like to.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to say, anybody who is really interested in getting into the nitty-gritty of this, I welcome you to, I guess you want to do one at a time. We'll sit down when these people come in here, go through the pros and cons of the various things that are A, technical, B, we know nothing about, except for Brad. It seems to me if we're paying ESS well over $100,000 a year to run this thing, and they know what they're doing, on subjects we know very little about, and we need the meter, and they go out and get 2 bids, and one's for $7,000, and the other's $3,870, and they think the $3,870 is not only cheaper but better, We can talk about how, we can spend a lot of time talking about this, but I don't,
We've hired them to run the best.
Pardon?
We've hired them to know what they're doing.
I mean, it's just, I sit through these meetings, it's a simple fact, I spend 3 hours with these people, or 2 hours. And unless you have Gary Schwartz, or Brad, there's not a single person in this room that really understands the nitty-gritty, unless I'm mistaken.
And I don't think Brad would understand.
And the stuff Brad doesn't understand. So at the end of the day, we either have to rely pretty much on the people we contract with, or find new ones. So it's not that one's being casual about spending money or the process, but it's dealing with the reality, and plus I must say, I trust Don more than ESS.
Oh, I think we all do. I was asking these questions because I don't have any paperwork or anything except for the reading.
That's kind of what I was saying.
And typically we have something to go on and
Well,
look
I
at.
just had, they're kind of long and convoluted.
So is it in proposal form right now?
It's the
Or
two,
were you
you're
assigned?
quoted to, those are the prices that were quoted to ESS, which they gave to me.
And we probably want to get started on that before long, right? Is that outside or inside?
Slowly, either itself is, I believe it's inside. If you want to table this for a few minutes, I will go and copy these emails and then you can look through them.
May I miss you something? I think it's a giant waste of time.
Yeah.
I just,
I mean, maybe there should have been papers, you get out to everybody. I think
4
it's
pages of different emails back and forth, from them to their contractors.
It seems like how this proposal says it's good for 30 days, it says the description and how much it is, and somebody has to sign it and everything.
Well, that's country border.
Okay, but we don't have that for that, right?
No,
It was in an
Cody,
email.
Cody just sent me an email saying we need to replace it, we got 2 quotes for us, and maybe you can, that's not very good at that. If you want, I do have a quote for one of them. It means really nothing to me, but that's the one that's for $4,230 something, plus they have to change the piping, plus ESS has to send.
That was the expensive one.
$7,000+.
Yes, that's the stuff.
Okay, so what do we have for 4870? That they recommend?
I just have a description from him saying that he prefers this type of meter and that they use it, and that's all I have. They use it at other plants, they have some knowledge of it, he said he's never worked with this one. You know, you want to postpone it and I can get the same.
I don't see any point in postponing something, which if it doesn't work and could break and cause problems, and then all of a sudden there's a problem, and it's an emergency, and now I'm going to tell them to go ahead and do it, fix it.
I apologize, I didn't give you the emails, but to me.
Does it have a warranty on it like this one does too?
1 year.
100% coverage for 1 year or something?
I don't think they would be asking to get, I don't know about the warranty because I.
There's one. They want all this.
A year warranty, just like
Of
that.
course, the machine breaks about 2 months after the warranty, so that's, okay.
Well, if John Lennon thinks we have enough information to go ahead and approve it, I just don't have anything in writing myself as a town council member.
Well, you could
Approve the
contingent
amount.
on a 1 year warranty or, contingent on,
I don't think that's not the point you're trying to make. I think you're just asking us to approve either 3,000 or 7,000. And there was nothing to show us what that 3 and 7 was. Now, you've read some stuff now,
But it's on, that's hard to understand.
what was hard for me. I just respect it and whatever you want to do.
Well,
Is it,
if
Is it
someone,
possible to get a formal proposal for both, if not one, the lower one, and approve that by voice vote or email vote among council, so that this can move forward quickly before it all?
yeah, we can't wait till another meeting.
So, I just want to know why they didn't send it the typical way they do. There was it a time, there is back and forth emails where Cody describes that particular meter that he's used before to the owner, to the, that's why I thought maybe I should call those emails. They did several pages of them, he's talking to the guy who he's going to order it from.
Those emails, well, I'm getting ahead of it.
I'm
We're either going to approve this thing now, here are the options as I see it. We approve it now, or Laura goes and Xeroxes every piece of paper that relates to this. And then we'll spend whatever amount of time required to read it. And then we'll discuss it. And then we'll vote to approve it. Now, your point is well taken that maybe there should be, more organized set of alternatives in front of us. That's a fair point. We usually probably have more stuff, but at some point, one has to trust the people that one works with. Particularly, and
Well, I just think the point is, if you're spending the town's money, you should have something written down.
Okay,
A
great.
sign and say,
That-
here is what we're
Let me,
spending.
excuse me, Mr. Mayor, but I would like to say something. What I would like to have is a contract between whoever's doing this, and Country Waters put their blessing on it. We have to sign it, and it gets done. We have nothing. We have no.
the contract is not with us and the purveyor, it's with ESS.
It's
isn't
the
it?
ESS is the.
On our behalf.
Doing.
Right, on our behalf.
It doesn't ask me.
Never was it
They're
there.
asking us to buy a certain part that they will install. And we're recommending this
With the
third
contract
part.
we already have with them, so they recommended the one more expensive
But
part.
I understand,
they
right, I understand all that. I'm just stating my opinion that I think we should have something like we normally do from Country Water, ESS, or whatever.
What do you propose?
Could you approve it contingent that we get a detailed proposal?
So what we're gonna do is get a detailed proposal that comes up with the same number, and then we'll circulate it, and then we'll all vote electronically if that's.
Can't vote electronically.
No,
Okay.
if we just agree to get that tonight, we can vote on contingent and we get that.
Yeah, it's a vote that contingent that we get that.
Okay.
So,
we can-
yes.
You can make a motion, why don't you make a motion for yourself, getting itemized contract.
All right, I make a motion that we approve the amount of $3,870. A bid submitted by Clearwater, it would be ESS, I'm sorry, ESS, a bid submitted by ESS, yes, that includes their labor and this part. The ESS labor and this part contingent upon our receiving, I would just say, approve up to this time for a proposal from ESS to install a flow meter. All right, read it again. I make a motion to approve up to $3,870 for ESS, for a proposal from ESS to install a flow meter at the town, at the wastewater plant contingent on an itemized quote. John, does that sound good to you?
Yeah, this is, it might be just a larger issue. It's come up from time to time, but it might, listen to everything, makes no, you're here, it's got to be fixed, but there's a bigger question that really involves a lot more than getting into it this time, I think. Makes sense to me, it makes sense to me to approve and go on with it with that motion that you just made.
It's okay, okay.
I'll second.
All in favor? We have to vote.
Aye.
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 All right. We now have a second issue, which is country water proposal, which is in front of you. To install a heater at the water plant. Laura, do you want to?
I don't know no more than what you have in front of you. The heater is not working. We have to get a space heater to put in there to keep the pipes from freezing. Computer,
That sounds pretty urgent.
it's fairly urgent. I have to get the space heater in there tomorrow. And this is the quote from Country Water to replace that.
Any questions?
This seems pretty clear.
You know, I just had a little 40-gallon hot water thing replaced in my mother's house. And you're talking about this 20-volt system with a zillion volts and all this stuff. It seems pretty reasonable compared to what I just paid for the 240-volt model.
Well, I bet this is a,
Well,
I think it's
Do I have a
240
motion?
volt, probably. It's a three-phase. I don't think it's a 24 volt.
It's a 480.
40,
Yeah.
3 things.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Roll call vote. Catherine?
Aye.
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 This looks like they just put it in one in.
Well, the other one's up in the ceiling, it's up in the ceiling. I think that's part of the issue, is it hangs down.
We discussed this the last meeting. There is a need to, there is a belief that there's a need to paint the town hall roof, given the status of the thing. Mr. Comp, in his capacity of being on the building committee for the county, knows something about these subjects, has talked to Big A Painting, and they have come in with a quote for $6,000. Did you talk to someone else?
Here's the process.
Yeah, that's right.
If I may.
Yeah.
As far as the roof is concerned, you can pay now or pay more later. It's a fairly simple proposition. The roof does need to be cleaned, sanded, primed, and painted. The county had already posted a job on the old magistrate's building. And this firm came out on top of that bid process because of the quality of the work that they were promising to do. They have now completed that work and it was done very well. So Ricky Burke, who is, or Ricky Jenkins, is the county building maintenance manager. And I asked him who did that and asked if they would come by here and look at this site as well, which he did, and they did, and you have that proposal in front of you. So this has not gone after some broad competitive bid for this building, but the firm that you have the bid from has done work for the county that was very well regarded and approved. So it just seemed like a way of saving some time and money to get a job that needs to be done.
Al, as a practical matter, would one want to do the painting now as soon as possible? The weather goes better, this would be next spring.
It may well be next spring, but I could approve it now and get on their schedule for spring.
He came and talked to me, it won't be done until March.
Yeah.
When we done that. That's what I think of. So we,
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. When he says clean it, do they pressure wash it?
Yes.
Because I guess everybody
Yes.
has a little roof and I saw where it used pressure water, the pressure really on these older roofs really damaged the roof.
That can happen if you don't know what you're doing. But for almost any metal roof, the first step is pressure washing. After that, it's sanding and repairing. So if there are joints that open or very thin spots, there are a couple of patches in this roof that will need to get extra attention and actually be repaired before they get painted. Then it's got to be primed, and then it gets 2 coats of paint. So this is a very good proposal, in my judgment at least, as you know, the best way to get the best job you can get for the amount of money you see on that page.
I have the same problem that John was talking about with my old roof, and I will never pressure wash, have them do it again because they really damaged it.
Yeah, if
And
you don't know what you're doing,
it's an
that's
old roof.
right. You can go, I would, if you're hesitant at all, go look at the magistrate's roof, which was done by this firm quite recently and done very well.
And
Alan, if we approve this, when the people show up here, would you be prepared to be on site and make sure we're doing it the way you think it should be done?
Yeah, I can do that. And I'll actually ask Ricky to be there with me. And he's been very supportive of trying to work things with the town and the county to try and maybe double up on contracts when we can, things like that. So yeah, I'll do that.
That's a good
I think everybody's paid to clean roofs.
Yeah, and when the holes appear, I'll move.
We had a bunch of panels replaced on the roof about 7 years ago, I guess.
Super proud of you,
No, it was, metal something out of Stevens City or someplace. I don't know if they're still doing it.
Here's one that worked on this for,
They're
the
very,
house, and
in
they're
my
also
house
doing
too.
the
But
work.
they came out and looked at it and replaced a whole bunch of the panels.
They appear to be very good.
Bent them, made them, on site.
All right. I'm open to what anybody wants to do here. My own suggestion would be that we go ahead and approve this, get on their schedule. We're not going to pay it until they do the work. So it's not as if we're committing, there's no cash out. Either that or we wait until the spring, and it just seems sort of,
Then you have to get on somebody's schedule
it
again.
seems to me it's a little more professional.
Can I ask Alan a question? Are they going to paint the roof with brush or spray?
No, they're brushes.
Good.
Both coats, all coats actually are
Good.
brushed.
I have one more. Yeah. I went through all this big
I'm not charging for the
experimentation.
consulting part.
I went through this big process of experimenting with all these primers and different paints and everything. In your view, I haven't kept up with it the last few years. Is this the combo to put on this roof?
Yes.
This primer and these?
In short, yes. Technology around paints has changed so much in the last 5 years even, that it's very hard to keep up with a lot of that stuff. I won't say I'm on top of all of it, but this is their business. Ricky stays on top of all that stuff a lot better than I do, and this is what he was comfortable with as well.
Yeah, these are all new names to me, so.
It's new, but it's still not as good as the old stuff.
Yeah, you can't do it.
You just can't even buy the old stuff
Can't
anymore.
get it anymore, yeah.
All right, Bob, does someone want to make a motion to approve this expectation to be done in the spring?
Yeah, I'll do
Approve this.
it. To approve the Big A painting.
All right, I'll second that.
Roll call.
I mean, it just says apply 2 coats of finish paint. Can we have that put in there as brush? Or it doesn't specify?
He said they do it by brush, right?
Yep.
You're asking, do we need to put that in?
Yeah.
Well, we can put by
If
brush.
he does it by brush, and someone would like to have it on a piece of paper, we can put it in by brush.
Yeah, we can put it in.
Then everyone
Just
knows
put it in.
that it's,
Who seconded it?
that everyone will be happy.
Sullivan.
I recommended it, yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
so I apologize.
Sorry.
Next item, as everybody knows, Gary H.O. stepped down because he's moving to town. There's a vacancy on the town council. We did discuss this last month. We want to make a more thorough outreach and announcement of this. We do have a letter of interest from a person. I don't know what I should say, who or not, I don't know. But what I would like to do, John, if you have any different suggestions, but send out by email to our sort of town list. If there's an opening, if anybody is interested, please raise their hand.
I'll put it in the notices section of the paper too.
Yeah, and I will talk to McCaslin and see if they can't put a little box on paper or something, so that there's full awareness, complete awareness that we have an opening. And have people send in their letter of interest if they have it by December 8th, and then we'll vote next meeting. So that's just an announcement. I don't think we're voting on it. Now, here's a contentious issue. Christmas party and holiday party and greens funding. We spent $1,800 last year, is that right?
Yes. That's what you've authorized for the last.
Yeah, maybe it's 1,600 or something we spent it all. We do have to, actually we can do it under unused power, it's under 2,500.
I forgot about that.
I forgot about that, I could just decree it.
Maybe I need to give an itemized list.
That would give me a real ride. But since we're all here, let's just vote on whether we're going to spend $1,800 or authorize it.
I'll make a motion, Mr.
I second.
Okay. All in favor? Okay. That's it. Let me open public forum. Discussion on any subject, questions, observations.
I would only add one more nudge to the one that Fred already provided, that the Planning Commission did send a letter with a whole series of very important steps for council to consider. And to begin to work on those, as opposed to put them on the shelf and hopefully go away, might be useful.
Well, it's a very good point. I would take a modest offense to put it on the shelf and just hope it goes away.
We would
I'm sure you
so
didn't
hardly
really, I'm sure you really didn't mean that. I think that would be what would happen. And if we do, I'm sure you'll let us know. Any other, if not, I'm going to close the public forum. There is not going to be a closed session tonight, and did I say we're closing the public forum?
Yes.
There's not going to be a closed session, and so do I have a motion to Sharon?
I just have one comment about the nice sidewalk deal they did down there near the jail. It's very nice.
You like that? For those, and you're speaking outside the official public forum, but we run this place loosely sometimes. For those of you who may not have noticed, VDOT put in do I dare use the word handicap access things on 3 different corners between Gay and Porter, so that one can now access from the street the sidewalk. There's no rise. It's the only place in town that they intend to do that, or where it's necessary to do that. So it's just sort of happened. We met with the VDOT person today, Mark Nesbitt, to discuss the process of how it happened. We may have some, anyway, we had a good conversation. Let's just leave it at that. And Sharon, my love, hope that's not you. appropriate. I was told today by Trinity Church that that handrail is going to be put in at the corner, which you have correctly raised several times. Corner of Gay and, I guess it's Middle Street there. On the corner where Trinity is, there's a 3 steps up that are uneven and needs a handrail. And Trinity Church is going to get that done. They now have it through their budget and their process. That was a good suggestion, it took a while, but. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make the motion to adjourn. 15.
All right, all in favor? Thank you all for attending.